Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And hi, my name is Muhammad Haikal Hashim bin ABDUL WALIT. My number matrix is AA191375. So today, me and my friend will explain about the LAB3 of Electrical Engineering Laboratory 3, Communication Engineering. So for the LAB3 is digital modulation, ASK, PSK, FSK using MATLAB. The experiment outcome is to study and understand the principle of amplitude shift keying, ASK, phase shift keying, PSK, and frequency shift keying, FSK modulation, and learn how to implement ASK, PSK, and FSK modulation using MATLAB. So for the procedure, first ASK modulation. So for binary information is 10011101. For the bit period is 0.000001 second. For amplitude of carrier signal for information 1 is 10 volt. Amplitude of carrier signal for information 0 is 0 volt. And lastly, carrier frequency, we use a 10 bit rate. So first, generate carrier signal. Next, start for loop. Next, generate binary data, message signal, on off form. Next, generate ASK modulated signal. Next, plot message signal and ASK modulated signal. Next, end for loop. And lastly, plot the binary data and carrier. So we transfer the procedure of ASK modulation to our MATLAB at the editor or at the command window. After transfer the information, run the simulation and then the graph will pop up after run the simulation. So this is the ASK modulation graph that we get after transfer the information given at the lab sheet. As we can see at the top, figure 1 is the transmitting information as a digital signal. It is 10011101. At the bottom is the waveform for binary ASK modulation corresponding binary information. We can see that from time 0 to 1, the amplitude is 10 and negative 10. From time 1 to time 3, the amplitude is 0. From time 3 to time 5, the amplitude is 10 and negative 10. From time 5 to time 6, the amplitude is 0. From time 6 to time 7, the amplitude is 10 and negative 10. The amplitude depends on the information given. So we insert 10 amplitude, so the amplitude will show 10 volt. The procedure for FSK modulation. For the binary information, 10011101 for bit period is 0.000001 second. For the amplitude of carrier signal is 10 volt. For carrier frequency for information S1 is 10 bit rate. The carrier frequency for information S0 is 2 bit rate. So first generate carrier signal, then start for loop. Next, generate a binary data, message signal in polar form. Next, generate FSK modulated signal. Next, plot message signal and FSK modulated signal. Next, end for loop, and lastly plot the binary data and carrier. So next, we transfer the procedure of FSK modulation to our MATLAB at the editor or a command window. After insert all the information, run the simulation. And after run the simulation, the graph will pop up. So this is the graph of FSK modulation signal after we transfer the information given at lab sheet. As we can see at the figure 1, at the top figure 1 is the transmitting information as a digital signal. We can see that from time 0 to 1, the amplitude is 1. From time 1 to 3, the amplitude is 0. And from time 3 to 5, the amplitude is 1. And from time 5 to 6, the amplitude is 0. And lastly, from time 6 to 7, the amplitude is 1. At the bottom of the figure 1, we can see the waveform for binary FSK modulation corresponding binary information. So as we can see from the graph, the amplitude from time 0 to time 7 is same, but the frequency will be different. From the 0 to time 0 to time 1, the frequency at high position, and at time 1 to 3, the frequency at the minimum position, and at time 3 to time 5, the frequency at a high position, and from time 5 to time 6, again the frequency at the minimum position, and from time 6 to time 7, the frequency at the maximum position. And next, the PSK modulation. For the procedure, binary information is 1001101. For the bit period is 0.000001 second. For the amplitude of carrier signal is 8 volts. And lastly, for the carrier frequency is 4 bit rate. And first, generate carrier signal. Next, start for loop. Next, generate binary data message signal in polar form. Next, generate PSK modulated signal. Next, plot message signal and PSK modulated signal. Next, and for loop. And lastly, plot the binary data and carrier. Next, transfer the procedure of PSK modulation into the MATLAB, either editor or command window. After transfer the information from the lab sheet, run the simulation. After run the simulation, we can see at the figure 1, they have two graphs. The top graph is the transmitting information as digital signal, and the bottom graph is the waveform for binary PSK modulation corresponding binary information. For the top graph, we can see that from time 0 to 1, the amplitude is 1. From time 1 to 3, the amplitude is 0. For time 3 to 5, the amplitude is 1. For time 5 to 6, the amplitude is 0. And lastly, from time 6 to 7, the amplitude is 1. For the PSK modulation graph, for time 0 to 1, the amplitude is 8, and the waveform is shift 180. And from time 1 to 3, the amplitude is same. It is 8, and it waveform shift to 180 degree. And at time 3 to 5, the amplitude is still same. It is 8 volt, but the waveform is shift to 180 degree. And from time 5 to 6, the amplitude is still same. it is 8 volts, and the waveform is shifts again for 180 degree, and from time 6 to 7 the amplitude is still same, 8 volt, and the waveform is shift again for 180 degree. That's all from me. Thank you.